Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Atomic Podcast. This particular podcast is part of a series that we're putting together to explore digital relations. But more than that, is really looking into the lives of people that are using anything from ChatGPT to any other forms of screen. And those particular screens are, in fact, part of their lives. And to which extent are they part of their lives? What's super different about today is it is not just like experts sitting in a room talking about the sort of future of AI and relationships, but it's actually children and teens. And so they are going to have a voice today. And in fact, this is their time for that. And so I'll be introducing them. But before I do that, I want to introduce Allison Paradise. She is an educator and really has been at the forefront of looking at how to educate kids that have exceptional experiences. And also, she has developed an organization, which I'm going to turn over to her to give a little detail on, because I think it's really pivotal to our discussion, but also to how we can elevate ourselves, elevate our children, and look to the future for a new kind of future. Allison?
Oh, thank you so much for having me, and thank you all for being here today. So as Rodney said, I founded the Epicenter. We work with kids and young adults to help them come back to themselves, to connect with themselves, to each other, and to the planet. And we do that through self-reflection questions, so a lot of asking, why do you feel this way, or what is your experience, as well as creative self-expression. So once you have a connection with yourself, how do you authentically express who and what you truly are? So most of our work is done in person, but some of it is also done online. So we're very fortunate today to have some people that we know and some students who we've worked with in person, and also those who we've worked with online to share their experience and their perspective.
And just I have to tell you again is that you have a heart the size of the planet, and perhaps an intellect to match. So Allison comes out of the cognitive neurosciences from Harvard and Brown, and really sort of her own journey has been through the sciences into the kind of work you do today, and it's sort of important to note that. So I want to also turn it over to all of you that's on the Zoom today. I am going to, since I don't know all of your names and you're quite small on the screen, I'm gonna pick on you first with the beautiful hoodie. And if you could introduce yourself, your name, age, and where you're from, perhaps your school if you like to, and also your mother would be great. It would be great if you did too. Go right ahead.
I'm Shay, and I'm from Michigan. We live in Grand Haven, and my school's Lakeshore Middle School.
How old are you?
And I'm 13.
Excellent.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm Lane.
Wonderful. Thank you. And does someone else want to step up?
My name is Kari, and sorry, it's really echoey in this room. I didn't realize. My name is Kari, and I'm a university student. I'm 19 years old, and I'm from the west side of Michigan.
Wonderful. Welcome to you both. And next?
My name is Leo, and I'm 11 years old, and I'm currently living in Dominican Republic.
Wonderful, and welcome. And I think we have one more.
I'm Zachary, and I'm 13, and I live in Salt Lake City.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. So just briefly, I want to give a little current state of the situation that we all find ourselves in, which is that we do spend time on screens, and then we attempt to pull ourselves away, but we have a relationship with screens. Would we all agree with that? Okay. And that relationship can be seen a number of ways. It can be seen as something that pulls you away from family and relations and brings you into more isolation. It can be seen as really exciting and a future that you can actually shape yourself. It can be seen as a companion. There's a lot of different aspects to the worlds that you all have stepped into in part, but you're actually going to be building. And that's why I'm so excited about today. So, um, I would, since you're front and center on the screen, maybe you can speak a little bit about the work you're doing and the thoughts you have in the either games or the whatever you're working with. Do you want to start?
Okay, so for me, um, I use AI to make videos. Um, it helps me to be creative, and I feel like for me, I use it as a guidance to create things that I probably wouldn't have without AI because it would have taken me a lot more time to do them. So for me, I am currently writing a book and I'm going to be making the images with AI because I feel like it would take too long for me to draw every single picture. So that's really been helping me. And I feel like with AI, a lot of people get a bit stuck on it. And I've seen myself scrolling sometimes, but I feel like what helps me is to remember what my passion and goal is and what will help me, and I ask AI to do that. So for me on a daily basis, it's pretty much asking AI to help me with guidance on what I want to do, and then I create with my own artistic side of like writing the book. So that's from me on a daily basis.
That's wonderful. And I think also that you mentioned, I think everyone can relate to this, is that you have a passion and you have a goal. And you're looking for tools and a way to express and get to that goal and express your passion. And I think that's a wonderful way forward is to use AI. And you know it will end up changing, obviously, become perhaps more powerful. Does anyone else want to speak to the creativity that you find in using some of these tools?
Sometimes I like go on like AI or like social media platforms and I find like ideas for stuff and it helps with that.
So it ends up being a place in which not only it may help you express your ideas, but you actually find ideas. And do you find those ideas something that you can act on?
Sometimes like artistic ideas sometimes like but some ideas sometimes it's hard to do. Yeah.
Mhm. Does anyone else want to speak to how we're talking specifically now about AI? So we might want to understand when you say AI what you're actually talking about. Are you talking about some of the chat GPTs and those large models? Is that what you're talking about AI, or are you talking about something else?
Social media platforms.
Social media platforms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Understood. Understood. Um, and you know, um, I heard the word scrolling. So, does anyone want to talk about as they're moving through a project, perhaps a homework? Does scrolling catch you, and how, if it does, how do you get out of it? And are you concerned about it at all, or is it just part of your everyday life?
I think for like me, like a lot of university students, like especially that I'm around, it's always kind of like a joke, like how much screen time you have, because everyone is always embarrassed about it, but everyone can't stop it. So it's always like, oh my goodness, I got stuck scrolling. Like, you know how it is though. So it's just kind of like a common like, oh, like I was running late because there was like traffic. It's like that kind of thing now. It's like, oh, like I something happened because I was scrolling, like it just happened. It's that kind of thing. But it's like everyone at the same time, they're like, I know it's so bad. And I swear you always talk to these people. And like even, you know, myself, I'm always like, oh yeah, like I want to have less screen time. Everyone else is like, we want to have less screen time. We all want it, but it's really difficult to actually have actions towards that because it's such an active part of daily life. Like a lot of people will send each other like messages, like text messages through Instagram. And so if you're going on Instagram to check and see if a friend messaged you, you're also probably going to see a video or a post that catches your eye, and then you start rabbit holing. And I feel like that happens in a lot of different like spaces where it's like social media is marketed as a way of like connecting people, and it has that like foot in the door where it does connect people at first, but then as soon as that connection is there, like makes people get consumed. um I don't know, but that doesn't necessarily have to do with AI. That's just social media in general.
Allison, do you want to speak to that a little bit? Because I think you're saying a lot here, in terms of it kind of catches you, and you know that you don't want to do it. It's almost like you're saying once you let your guard down, right? You're caught in traffic, something's casual, that you find yourself doing something. This phrase is that you find yourself, doing something, right? And I think we all experience that. So um, I was just, Allison, you have any thoughts about that?
Well, actually, I had a question, Kari. I'm wondering, is it possible to bring awareness, or at what point do you find that you bring awareness to the situation and you think, oh, what am I doing? Or does that not happen?
I think it depends on the person, and think it depends on your social group. Because a lot of people in my social group will have like reminders on their phone, like every 5 minutes. If I'm on social media, I get like my social media shuts down, and I have to like go through all these things to try and like get back on there if I want to access social media. Some people will turn their screens black and white so the colors are like not as attractive. Some people, there's all these devices and all these methods that people do. Like I know someone who has four different blocking devices. So it'll get blocked by one app, and then it gets blocked by the other app, and then the other app, and then the other app. So they have to like go through all these walls in order to like access social media. I have a friend who chooses to only look at Instagram when she's on her computer because she doesn't want to sit on her phone. And if she's on her computer, it feels more like she's engaging in like more like technical work way. So she's like, okay, I'm going to go on, I'm going to respond to messages. It's like it feels less convenient to scroll using your like mouse pad than your phone. So it stops her. So I think a lot of people will put in these techniques, but it's also like that's the people I'm surrounded by. If I were to talk to people in other groups, and like when I have talked to them, I was like, oh my goodness, sorry, like it's gonna take me a second to open Instagram for you to follow me because I have this like device that like I have a timer on it. They were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, how do you not know? Because it's like for me, that's very normal to have a timer for your Instagram account.
Hmm. It feels like you're speaking very eloquently about how addictive this is, right? All the different safeguards that you have to put in place to prevent yourself from accessing it just really speaks to how addictive it is.
And also, you're a part of a group, and I'm assuming that there's many groups, and in different age points where they have already figured out how to limit their own access, but also how to limit their own participation and engagement. And it's one, just to limit access, but you may in fact be how can I say, wanting to be on it, right? And um, and what you're really saying is that most of your friends have identified that it's not the best thing to do, right? You're identifying that it, everyone, as Allison's saying, that it is addictive, and that people know that. Is that true? Do you really feel that the idea of addiction is quite understood among your peers?
I think it does really depend on the group, but I think for my age group, it's pretty wide known that social media is addictive. But I think people know it's addictive and then they feel like they can't do anything about it, or they know it's addictive and don't care. And they're just like, oh well, like they just I don't understand why they don't care. Like that's something that I personally don't feel, but I do know that there's a lot of groups where they're aware of it, but it's like a joke because they're aware and they don't do anything.
Mm. And Allison, in the work that you do, and the kids you work with, Um, do you see signs of addiction?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's very prevalent. We see it in our classes when we ask people to put their phones away, or their computers away, and also in the what people talk about. So, in particular, for young people, like games are something that I've noticed are really hard for them to not play or to put away. Um, and actually, I'm curious if Liel, Shay, and Zachary would speak to that and their experience of what it's like for you, whether it's social media or whether it's games like Minecraft. What is your experience of those? Do you find them to be addictive in some way? Do you find it hard to put them away?
Well, I see like a difference from like games being able to like talk to people, like games like Fortnite and Minecraft, because those ones like can allow you to talk to people, but there's also some games that like kids my age like to play where it's just like only one player and you're the only player and you're just not talking to anybody.
Hmm. Shay, do you feel like it's more or less difficult to put down a game if you're engaged with other people?
If you're engaged with other people, I say it's more harder to like put it down because you like want to talk to them and you want to like finish what you're doing.
Hmm. That makes sense. Do you, in general, feel like it's difficult to put those games away? Do you have to tear yourself away, or is it easy?
Personally, if it's like a one player game, I have a hard time with it. But if it's like multiple player, for some reason, sometimes I just have it's easier for me to get off.
Hmm.
Does anyone else have a sense of when they are in a game, whether it's multiplayer or single player, that you're in a world and that world is hard to detach from, or that world is safe, or the world is not safe? Do you have any sense there? Does anyone want to speak to that?
For me, I like to sometimes play Minecraft, and I try not to do it too much. Um, but when I do, I find myself getting lost in it a bit. I feel like because there's so many different animals that you can get, and you can build farms, and I like building things. I have a lot of Legos, but in the games, it's like you have infinite building materials and pets and so many things that can keep you interacted that it's hard to tear yourself away for it. As where with Legos, you the things that you buy, that's the things that you get. You don't have unlimited. So I feel like just the fact that you can get unlimited of pretty much everything, that is harder for me.
And are you in environments in which you can buy things or get tokens for things, and in any of these game environments?
I I don't really play too many games, only pretty much Minecraft. So I usually play on creative mode since I like to express myself with buildings, but I'm I really like pretending to buy things and exchange money and getting tokens. So probably if I was able to get that into Minecraft, I would probably get really lost in that because it feels really good to advance and buy new things and exchange. So I think probably I would get more lost in that.
Does anyone else have that sense that once you're in something in which you're exchanging something, it could be magic tokens, it could be anything, that there's a kind of further dive into it for you, or there's a certain level of pleasure for that, or it doesn't really matter?
I feel like that's kind of the whole driving factor of like the popular game Monopoly is like the pleasure of being able to exchange and buy things and like be able to like live in your own economy with whoever else is playing with you, but like have it not be real. So you don't, when you go bankrupt in the game, it's not like bankrupt in real life. So you feel like you can just infinitely do whatever you want. And it feels like it's less real, or like in a sense, it's like you feel like you're more free. And I feel like that style of thoughts can get kind of addictive or in loop.
Zach, something that you're bringing to mind is um, if you were to build a game like this, it's something similar to what you described. This is similar, it doesn't have to be the same. What would you build today that would give you the kind of pleasure and creativity that you're hearing on in this podcast? What would give you that kind of excitement if you were able to build it that that your peers would enjoy? Do you have any sense of that?
I don't know.
You don't know. Yeah. I mean, it's a whole billion-dollar industry of people that sit around thinking about that. So it's a hard question, but it is something to think about overall. Is that the the future that you're already in is going to be in a large part based on what you build and what you contribute to, and also what you stop, right? Um, Whether it means an app that you put as a kind of firewall between you and that addictive app or whatever. Um, so, thinking creatively about what would be something that you would like to see happen on a screen would be wonderful to know. I'm not putting you on the spot here. I'm just saying, think about it. Um, and or would you just get rid of screens altogether? Would we be just better off with Legos or static screens like television?
For me, I feel like computers are probably here to stay, but we as humans need to know how to direct ourselves into the path that we want. Because with ChatGPT, I use it pretty much every day to help me create things. So for me on a daily life, I feel like I'm okay with it. So I feel like for all of us, I think the most important thing is to make sure that what we use, like YouTube or AI, we need to make sure that we have a goal and we're using the tools to make it happen. So I feel like what we could all do is like, I think one of the best parts is loving yourself because a lot of times you would start scrolling on things like, oh, that's a really nice, I don't know, car or something. Those headphones are really cool. And like on Amazon, you can scroll for like hours. I found myself a couple times when I was a bit younger, and since I was younger, I didn't know really how to control it, and I just wanted things. But feel, when you feel love and that you have everything you already need, then it's like you're not searching for anything else, and all you want to do is just use the tools to be the star that you are. So that's my experience and what I think we could all do.
Does anyone have a thought about that? It was very beautiful what you said um, about making sure you have a goal so that when you do go to the screen, that the screen that you're using what's on the screen, or, in this case maybe ChatGPT, and it's not using you, um, or you're not searching for your goal all the time, but these are tools now. Does anyone have a sense of how? Let me ask a different way. Is a goal super important, more important now when you're online in this environment than ever before? Or have we always been goal oriented?
I feel like a lot of people have goals, but now it's really hard to stick to your goals because there's a lot of things trying to grab your attention. And there's like a lot of easy shortcuts, I think, to getting to your goal. And I think it's also hard sometimes knowing your goal, especially like in school. It's hard to know why you're doing the things that you're doing. And so it's easier to stray from a goal if you're not grounded in it. So I think a lot of schooling is like developing pathways to think about the world. And a lot of times students don't think about school like that. We think about school as like this assignment, then this next assignment. And if I'm thinking about my goal is just to get this assignment done, the easiest way is to use ChatGPT. But if I'm thinking about my goal is like this assignment is helping me learn how to think about the world, then that makes it a lot easier to not stray from my goal and like actually do something in a way that's engaging me. And like, I think it's also hard because sometimes goals feel like I think different people have different goals. So some people's goals are going to be a lot more oriented towards using AI a lot more in their lives. Whereas I don't necessarily feel like that's something that needs to be a part of my goal in my life. But it's hard to come to a balance in society when we all have these conflicting goals, like working it like against each other.
Allison, do you have some
I have a
thoughts there?
question. Yeah, I have a question. So, what would you imagine, Kari, based on what you just said, what would you envision being an ideal situation then for AI, for people? What do you see with that, with all these conflicting goals and conflicting uses?
I feel like it's tricky because I'm very, like, I'm a bit more opinionated than most people, and I would personally not want to have people use AI during school. But I know that that's not how everyone else feels about it. Um, and I think it's also because we're told, like, we're told that school is just to, like, get a good grade, to get into a good college, to get into a good job, to get money, to have a wife or like have a husband, to get a house. Like it's like we're told all these things to like have a system. And so I think if we were to go towards more what I would be wanting, I think we'd have to break some of that system, which I don't think everyone else would be willing to do.
I want to pick up on something that I've heard almost all of you mention in different ways, which is around the feeling of limitlessness that you have, whether it's the scrolling, the sort of endlessness of scrolling, the falling into a game, the limitless opportunities in there. And I'm curious if there's a non-digital or an analog equivalent feeling to that limitlessness. I'm just wondering, are we wanting to experience this kind of unlimited space and that's why we turn to a digital experience, or are you able to find that somewhere in a analog, meaning in this kind of non-digital space?
I would say like limitless feeling I get is like when I'm using my Legos because I have lots of Legos, so I get a feeling of that, like just looking for pieces and building like certain things that I think of. So yeah.
So you can find it in this space. Anyone else? What's your experience like?
Sometimes I feel like I can express myself more with art. Um, because sometimes, like, I try to find videos on how to draw, and sometimes I honestly feel like I just want to freehand, and I feel like sometimes I can be more creative that way and express myself more. So I feel like being creative, as in doing art and drawing and stuff, I feel like I don't really get tired of it, and I don't feel like I need the game to feel that pleasure.
Yeah, there seems to
I
be a
think
thread. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
I think similarly for me, it's like a lot when I'm in these creative spaces or if I've just spent a lot of time with friends and we're having very interesting conversations that are just going on and on, like I think that's when I feel limitless, feels like there's so many possibilities. And something that I think you guys would be interested in hearing is like how I feel going back to like if I'm have this limitless feeling and then I go on social media, like the sense of decay that immediately feels like it happens. It's like I feel like I go on if I have just felt limitless, like I've been very creative or I've had a very good conversation, I think going back on social media makes it feel so extra fake. Like I would go on to scroll and be like, this is not creative or this isn't if I hadn't had that feeling of limitlessness outside of a screen, it's a lot harder to catch like how it feels limited, even though it's like pretending to be limitless. Like or like I guess maybe like an uncreative limitlessness.
Hmm. That's a wonderful observation. Hmm. Zachary, what's your experience?
Um, I really liked what Kari said, but I feel like also it can also like extend to like the people you're around too. Like there was this activity I was going to with some friends, and then there was this one girl with this phone who started playing a video, and all of then everyone went over to her and started watching it, except for me. And it got really awkward and felt kind of distressing for me because I was trying to talk with my friends, and they were all ignoring me because they were sucked into the videos. And like I was trying to talk to them and have like a wholesome conversation, and they were like blocking me out because I was preventing them from feeling whatever emotion that they're watching the video was giving them.
Hmm. Do you notice that that happens often, that you feel like the videos compete for person-to-person interaction?
Actually, I've only noticed it this last time because
Okay.
it's like the first time it's happened so far.
Hmm.
I feel that too. You're not alone. I'd force my friends to put their phones in baskets. I didn't like it.
I will chime in as an adult. My kids, my two youngest are 13 and 15, and they don't have phones. And they are the only ones, for the most part, in their friend groups that don't have phones. And I have noticed that, Zachary, that when we'll all be together doing whatever and the friends are there, all the friends are on their phones, and my kids are just kind of like sitting there, like hanging out because they don't have a device with them like everybody else in the group does. And it's kind of disheartening because you're there to have time together and interact and connect and whatever. And so for everybody just to be like glued to their phone during that activity is kind of a bummer.
I felt that too with like my older brother will like let me hang out with him and his friends when they're over. But like when they're done like talking to each other, they'll all just like go on their phones and like just scroll through like TikTok or something and just like not talk to each other, just like send each other videos, but just not like talking like person to person.
I mean, as a parent, do you talk to other parents about what you see?
Yeah, and I do think it's becoming a little bit more of a conversation now. I know one other mom that their kiddo does not have a phone that is in their friend group. But it feels like a lot of parents we forget how we were raised. Like we all survived without having cell phones, right? Like you went in when it was dark, like right, like you had a landline in the kitchen, and you know we all survived, we all grew up and everything was fine. But there's this idea of like I want to be able to contact my kid when I need to, and I want to know where they are at all times. And I get that as a parent because you want your kids to be safe and you want to know that they can get a hold of you if they needed to and stuff like that. But at the same time, at what expense of having that be like your entire world then is wrapped up in the phone? And then of course, go on an entire tangent of like, you know, the bullying that then happens on social media and that then it's in your house and all the things, right? So I think some parents are bothered by it, but they feel like, well, it's a necessary evil because I want to be able to reach my kid wherever they are, whenever they are. So
So
kind of,
that's the kind of line. I think it's a real important need to contact our kids, right? And so a phone becomes that bridge. But now
mm-hmm.
there's smartphones. So it's a bridge, but then it's so much more.
Yeah.
So do the parents you talk to, and I'm getting a little maybe technical here, do they buy lockdown watches or lockdown phones? So
Not that I know of.
yeah, so it's immediately more than just contacting their kids,
Right.
you know.
And I feel like it's a slippery slope too, right? Because you might get the phone with the intention of being able to contact your kids or whatnot, or have them be able to call you when they're out somewhere. But it becomes a slippery slope then of, now you have social media and you don't have any safeguards on anything, and the whole world then is at their fingertips with whatever good, bad, and ugly comes along with it. So it's kind of scary.
What I've noticed that helps with that is that I have an Apple Watch, so I can call you when I'm like going to like the park or something. So
Yeah.
I noticed that like that helps too, that you're just like not on your phone when you're at like.
Yeah, that was our family's
somewhere else.
compromise is the kids have watches and they charge in a public space in the house, and it only goes on when they are going out with friends. They don't wear them to school. They don't wear them, just like day to day. It's not a regular thing. They only have them on if they're like going out and going to be somewhere with friends, and then that way we can reach each other. But they basically can call me and dad and their cousin, and that's pretty much it.
And just one more question around this about devices for our children and for all of you is that, do you see that certain kids come from a family that don't have a device until they're in their teens or later teens? But for those that do have a device, do you ever see parents coming in and say, no, you no longer can have that device? So you know what I mean? And if you have, what does that look like? In other words, I talk to parents like you, and it's like my daughter too, and we don't have devices for reasons that we think are super important. But I don't see the opposite way, where parents have their kids have it and they suddenly have a light bulb moment that this may not be the best thing for the family or for them, and that they remove the devices from their lives. Have you seen that happen?
I haven't seen it personally.
Yeah, okay. It is curious though, right? Yeah.
There's the fighting. There's the anticipation of the fighting and the actual fighting of what that happens when you try to take those devices away from kids. Especially the younger, there's almost like a curve that goes like, the younger they are, the more they'll scream. And then there's a period where it's kind of okay. And then it goes back to being really difficult. And then it's kind of okay again. But there's something around not wanting to be in that level of conflict and the exhaustion that comes with being in that level of conflict. I feel that is enough to keep people just letting their kids use the device. I don't know. Does that feel true, Lane, to you?
For me, I haven't seen any of that in person. But my parents try to teach me these things and show me how other people behave and how we need to try to keep zen with ourselves by meditating and stuff. So they showed me a couple of videos of that, and they really fight. They can scream, and it's understandable. Like, if you've had it since you were a baby, then it's like your whole life you were having it, and when you take that pleasure away, they don't know what to do. They can't really be creative anymore, because if the parents don't teach the kids how to use the tools and how to go on YouTube and learn some stuff, then they will just start watching some things that might not be the best. And of course, we all might need a break sometimes, and I watch sometimes like some arts and stuff, and it doesn't always need to be about learning, but if the only thing you do in your life is just watch things that won't benefit you, then it will be really hard to be creative, and in the future, it will be hard for you to get a job. So I've seen a couple of times that kids can really get a breakdown, because I feel like maybe they don't know who they are anymore without the phone or the device, because they can't really be creative anymore.
That's so well said.
My school, in my class, we did research about like the adolescent's brain, and when we researched it, we read an article and it said that people like teenagers or people that are going through adolescence don't get like when they get dopamine rushes, it's like a lot more exciting than it is when like you're little or an adult. And I've seen with some kids like having like electronics during like my age, they get like big dopamine rushes, and like when it's taken away from them, they just don't really know how to react.
So they were talking about that in school?
Yeah, my ELA class was we were doing an essay, an essay about it. So we were reading articles about adolescence, and then we wrote an essay about it.
Do you have that experience, Shay? Like what they were talking about?
Yeah, and also like with my brother, sometimes he's like playing his video games, talking to his friends, but he's like not really focusing on school and stuff because he just wants like those dopamine rushes with his friends and stuff. He will get his electronics taken away and he just doesn't know how to react about it.
We have a timer on everything, so stuff goes off automatically at night, so we can't just park on things all night long on the internet.
Well, not his TV, but like his other electronics.
Yeah, so like on their iPads and stuff, they can't use them after 9 o'clock, and even that is an argument. So I can only imagine the fight it would be to have given a phone and then remove the phone, because even the 9 p.m. shut off is quite an argument.
Not for me, I normally go to bed.
It's true.
One last question. I think we just have a few minutes, unfortunately. Allison, I'm sure you have a question, but I'm just thinking of how we as adults and you and also the kids on this call model behavior around how they use what they use, and how they model other behavior, both from their parents and adults, and also from your friends. Does anyone want to talk about that? Like when they see, say, an adult say, "You need to put that away," and the adult is scrolling. I see it all the time, by the way, unfortunately. But the idea is that we have to model that future that is not, as you say, just a dopamine rush, right? And also model that future that allows us that limitlessness, and allows us the joy and the love to be, the sort of drivers of our creativity. So anyone have an experience around people that are or are not setting a good example in their lives?
I've noticed like some kids in my class, like sometimes they'll take stuff on like after their parents, like what their parents tell them to do and stuff, like their parents' rules, but also like they also take things like stuff off of social media, and they'll like act how some like people that post stuff on social media do, and they'll like just go along with the trends and stuff, and then just like their life, they're just not like happy because like they're just doing those short dopamine rushes and they just don't know what else to do.
Yeah. Allison, do you have sort of a final question? I mean, we could start the podcast now.
Well, maybe there's two things. So I wanted to say for myself, I wasn't really aware of how often I was using my device many years ago until I met someone who was always on their device. And so that mirroring was really important for me to just watch and recognize, oh, I don't enjoy this as the recipient of not getting your attention at all. And it made me want to limit how often I was on my device. So I think sometimes that it can go both ways. Sometimes we see somebody and we want to emulate their behavior, and sometimes we see somebody and we're like, that is not what I want to be like. It goes both ways. And maybe I want to just thank you all so much for your insights. I mean, you all have said some really beautifully articulate things and have such wonderful perspectives on this topic. And I'm curious for you all, is there anything that you came to this podcast wanting to say? So some perspective that you were hoping to share that we haven't covered yet.
Well, for me, a lot of tourists come here, and I don't really make too many strong bonds, because a lot of the kids that come here are all into social media and all this stuff that I'm not really too into. So for me, it creates some conflict. It's hard to talk to them about something because my interests are more like making handmade projects, and for them, it's more about like what type of show you're watching. So for me, it's a little bit tough to make friends sometimes, especially since most of the population, kids and sometimes even adults, are stuck with it. So it's sometimes hard for me to make friends, but the friends that I do make I create very strong bonds with them because they know how to be creative and they align with my interests, and it feels like we help each other to not get too stuck on it because I think pretty much all my friends, they have experienced what it feels like to get stuck with the device like on YouTube. Um so they tell me that it's hard for them sometimes that they're searching for like a video on how to do math or art, and then they see themselves scrolling, and it feels like we help each other in a way. So I feel like if you find the right community, you're able to help each other. And that's why I'm using AI, because I'm making videos and I feel like I'm able to share with the world about meditation and loving yourself and how to not get stuck with these things so then you can be creative and we can all be stronger together, and we won't need to let AI to take over ourselves because it will never be that loving or caring as us. So I feel like if we create a good community, and I feel like it's happening pretty fast, the word is going out there. So I feel like over time, a lot of people should start learning about it and we can grow together.
I have such a heartfelt thank you, just like Allison. Um, you've been so generous and so articulate in a way that few adults are. So thank you, and um, I hope to do another one. I have a feeling there'll be more. So thank you for all your good thoughts and kindness.
Thank you all so much for being here and for sharing your perspective.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.